Anxiety and exposure or exposure therapy, lesson one. Exposure is an intentional act. Now, many anxious people hear about exposure or exposure therapy and they try to use it on their own, which is great. I encourage that for sure. But sometimes they labor under some misconceptions or misunderstandings and things don't go terribly well, then they wind up feeling really discouraged. So let's look at some principles of exposure. Principle number one is that an exposure is a very intentional act. You must go into it with intent. Well, what is that intent? Here's the bad news. The intent is to be triggered. The biggest mistake that anxious people make when they start doing exposures is they try to do scary things without being scared, or they try to do things that make them anxious without feeling anxious. They try to do uncomfortable things while they try to feel more comfortable, and then that never really works out, and they wonder why exposure doesn't work for them. So keep in mind the first principle of exposure. Exposure is intentional, and the intent you have to have is to be triggered. Now, that's a raw deal, but it's the deal we've got because that's just how it works. If you've been doing exposure and you've been doing it with the wrong intention, things aren't working out for you. That's not your fault. You're just making a very common mistake that you might just need to adjust, which is totally okay. It happens to everybody.